Here we go again. Today we are back with a different video here. We're doing my first mock draft on the channel. Now the trade deadline was today. It just ended at 4 p.m. We saw some big moves by the Jets. Quinnen Williams they trade. They trade Sauce Gardner. Those are two former first-round picks. Now they have 5 first-round picks their next 2 years. So I do think they'll probably move up, but right now let's just get right into it. So now 1-1. They took Shuck last year. Really hasn't shown a lot. Rattler's really not done much either. Now, is there an argument at 1-1 right now that they could take Ruben Bain and wait for a quarterback? There totally is, because and I could totally see them go that way. Because they need an edge rusher bad. I know they got Chase Young. Cam Jordan is old as hell. And Ruben Bain is a really, really good prospect. And this quarterback class, it's not, like last year, it was it was pretty mid quarterback class. But like 2024, none of these guys would have gone over any of those quarterbacks. This is a way less established class. But 1-1, as of right now, I would say that the Saints take Mendoza. I just can't see it any other way right now. That's just kind of the way I'm feeling. Now at pick 2, now the Titans have a weird kind of weird spot here. This is probably a pick where they could trade down. Now, I know Cleveland needs quarterback. Las Vegas needs quarterback. Now, the Titans right here, the clear and obvious pick is Ruben Bain. Now, any of Caleb Downs or a receiver, if they traded down, is very possible. But for all intents and purposes, I'm going to stick with the guy I think they'll pick, Ruben Bain. Now, the Jets. The Jets have a better roster. They have a lot of picks. Now, their big decision is who's the guy to take them to the next step. Now, you've got you've got Dante Moore, you've got Ty Simpson. Those are the two obvious guys. I don't even think Sellers is in the discussion for me right now. I think it's between these two, and right now I think the second best quarterback, who I wasn't very familiar with him going into the season, but he has really exceeded expectations. He's been really good in big games. I'm gonna go Ty Simpson. Now Moore is really good. He's a little young with Sellers, and I just think he's a little too raw for that pick. Now they could definitely take him, but right now I think Simpson is the guy on that pick, and I think he would be good in New York. I do. Pick 4. Now we got Miami, who surprisingly only made one trade. They just didn't do enough. They were rumored to trade Waddle. They were rumored to trade Fitzpatrick. They were rumored to trade Bradley Chubb. Now, they've got a gaping hole of, $56 million every year with Tua at quarterback. They cannot keep, just throwing that in because, they have Waddle. They have to start, figuring it out. Now, on this pick, I could definitely see them take more, and that's probably what I'm going to go with. But see, Caleb Downs would be a great pick. Fano I think, is a bit of a reach at 4. I don't really see a receiver. If they traded Waddle, maybe. I don't really see any of these guys going in this pick. Yes, they need an edge rusher. Falk is definitely possible, or Orville Reese, who's had a really good year wherever he is. Oh, there he is. But the pick right here, it's really between Moore and Downs for me. And I think right now they would go Moore. So, now, the Giants are a tricky one too, because, you know, they've definitely put a lot better. They don't need quarterback for the first time in a while. Now, they need two of these positions. They need Caleb Downs. They need Spencer Fano. You know, you want to protect your guy. Their right tackle position's been okay. Obviously, Evan Neal never panned out the way they wanted. But the pick right here is Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs and Javon Holland at safety would be absolutely beautiful. Um, I know they have Tyler Nubin um, as well, but I know Downs has the versatility to play basically all over the field. Okay, and now on to pick 6. Now, this is kind of the hardest one for me to think about because the Browns are a weird team. Now, they could totally take Sellers. They could totally take Tyson. And they could totally take Fano. Any of those three would work. Their left tackle position has been terrible. Right tackle, obviously, they have Conklin. Quarterback, they have Gabriel Shadur. Gabriel's been horrific. Like, I know the Browns have another pick in this round at 19 is the current projection for it. I know Nussmeier's in there. Um, who else we got? I don't think anyone else is even in the top 32 besides those guys. Yeah, Maeva, Mateer. I don't see Mateer entering the draft this year just because of his injuries. He's a weird player, but I don't think he'd be a first round pick this year either. Maybe a late one, but you never know. But right now for pick 6, my thinking, I'm not a huge fan of Sellers because he's very raw. But I mean it's bad because they need all three of these things. They really need receiver. They really need QB. They need that left tackle. But right now, I think they would take Sellers. I do. And that absolutely fucks Vegas because Vegas would take a quarterback if they could, and that would be the guy they'd want. Um, Now, Vegas needs quarterback. They need linebacker. They need D-line. I mean, they need anything. They need a tackle, really, in my opinion. And they need a receiver after they just traded away Jacoby Myers today to Jacksonville. Now, see, this is a hard one, honestly. Again, back-to-back picks here where they could go either way. I don't think it's going to be a defensive player, but they need quarterback. Quarterback would be the big one. I think offensive tackle is a bigger need, or offensive line in general is a bigger need than receiver. Because that offensive line is one of the worst there is. I know Colton Miller's been hurt, but right tackle has really been bad. They just didn't put a good enough team around on offense. In all reality, I know that I know receiver's such a big need, but this is the thing with this one. It's a deep receiver class. I think they could get one later, and I think they could be fine. So I'm gonna go with Spencer Fano. Now pick 8. See, this is where it gets a little fun. Now, Cincy, they need defense. They could benefit from O-line, yes, always, but they really need to hit a pick in the in the defense because without Trey Hendrickson playing in any of the games they have no chance on the pass rush. I know their corners suck too, but I just don't see a corner. I know Delane's ranked as the highest. I don't view a corner in this draft right now as a top 10 pick. So now, I know they took Stewart last draft. He really hasn't shown much. That's the thing. And the guy before him that I just blanking on really hasn't done anything either. Right now, I'm gonna say Peter Woods. He's a touchdown threat on offense too. He's been playing fullback even for Clemson, but he's a really good player. and he's definitely a top 10 pick. He's been pretty much mocked for a top 10 pick this draft the entire time. Um, Now we're into Washington. Now, this is a lost season for them in a year they had really high expectations too. They need a lot. Their offensive line has struggled. I know they took a offensive lineman last draft. Now, receiver, I don't think so. They really need an edge rusher, and Orville Reese would be my pick here. I view him a little bit over Falk. He's just had such a better year, and he's I think he's super pro ready too. So I'm just not gonna beat around the bush more there. So they say edge, receiver, tackle. Kind of agree. I mean, Tyson remains on the board here for me. I think he's definitely the best receiver in the class, without a doubt. I know Lemon's good. I know Tate's good. Tate's definitely the two. It's very close between Tate and Tyson. Right now, I just think Tyson's the more dynamic player. So at pick 10, I like, you know, it's pretty close between Tyson and Falk because Falk at 10 is just very good value, and even with Tyson, would be an excellent pick. I just don't think you can keep going with Lamar and have Zay Flowers as best option. I think Tyson is too good of a talent to leave off the board to not leave with basically. So he would be my guy there, without a doubt. Uh, the Rams. Now, the Rams are a weird one too. They need offensive line. It says they need quarterback. Not believing that one. Now, edge rush, defense looked a lot better. Verse and Co. Basically, I'm trying to think of the white guy, the white defensive. That's not it. Almost said Brian Breesy. No. Um, but right now, I think they need an offensive tackle, especially at left tackle, a lot more. They also have 2 picks in this draft. I think Moaga from Miami just makes a lot of sense for them, and I think that's how they go. Now, Arizona's a weird one because now Kyler Murray's benched. Brissett's a starter. I don't think Kyler will be there long term. I don't. Now it says they need offensive tackle, safety, edge rusher. Now this is the first spot on my board personally where I'm like, I see a real chance on Jeremiah Love going there. I know Trey Benson, people are pretty excited to see him play, and, he's a pretty, like, he had a really bright game in his one game as a starter, and then he got hurt. I don't, I don't know if they can leave without taking him, because Connor is 30 or 31, and he had a terrible injury. Now, would they leave without taking Falk? Not a chance. Falk is definitely the best player on the board right there. Now, based on team needs, they need an edge rusher. I know they got Walter Nolan last draft. He's inside defensive lineman. On the edge, I know they Baron Browning. He's a decent player. Falk would be a game changer for that defense, and that's an improved defense everywhere. But the edge rush, Calais Campbell's getting multiple sacks. You need somebody to step in. I want to say year 18, right? Like, if they went Love, wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. He's the best RB in the class, without a doubt. I know, Justice Haynes. I don't think Coleman comes out. Singleton's had his issues. Love's the clear first round pick. Could Haynes go in the first round? Probably too. But no. If the Texans don't take an offensive lineman, C.J. Stroud should genuinely request a trade. I would actually be stunned if they don't take, like, I don't, you know, offensive lineman rankings could really change, but Proctor is definitely the guy here, the guy to take. So now we move to Dallas, and Dallas is really in need of a guy like T.J. Parker. You know, they could take corner. They do need corner. They have wait. Do they have? They traded one pick away. Okay, they still have that other pick. Oh, they didn't switch it anyway. So, Dallas, yeah, T.J. Parker would be the pick. Micah Parsons is gone. You need to get an edge rusher who can change the game. Quinnen Williams is a great pickup in the trade market in the inside defensive line. Now they need a guy on the outer side. I know they have, Overshawn's a good player. I mean, they're really missing because they don't have a sack game, and T.J. Parker would be the guy. Now, Minnesota could definitely take Love. Is that their biggest need? No. Like, Mason's been good. Now, it's the big debate on, who's better between Delane or McCoy. I think McCoy's just a better prospect at this time. Personally. Now, we'll have to see how that ends at the end of the season. But I just think McCoy's just definitely had a better year than Delane. Yeah. Nussmeier's still on the board here. Now it's pretty interchangeable with Delane and McCoy, obviously, but I think, and I know they suggest him here, and they suggest David Bailey. I don't think they're going to take an edge rusher. I think this is where you take another guy for your quarterback, and I think this is where Carnell Tate is off the board. Oh, look who's up. The great Kansas City Chiefs. My favorite team. Their biggest need is tight end. They could totally take Sadiq, and it wouldn't surprise me, whatever. But they need a game changer in that run game, and I think they'd take Jeremiah Love. I really do. I think that's a huge possibility that they take a guy like Love. Unfortunately, I don't think the Bears really need him. I don't think they'd take him either because they have some more pressing needs like edge rusher, which has really been the Bears' issue the entire season. Sweat just hasn't been the same player this year for them. So Bailey would be my pick from Texas Tech. Texas Tech. Okay. Then we have the Browns again. Now, I had them taking Sellers earlier. I talked about how they need a receiver really badly. This is where Lemon's coming off the board for me. I know they need a left tackle really badly, but if you're going to draft a quarterback who's super raw like that, you need to give him a weapon. Jerry Jeudy's not cutting it. Isaiah Bond's not cutting it. Lemon, that is a good player right there. Now, quarterback, cornerback, D-line, really a bunch of defensive players. I don't think Delane's possible. I know Slay's in his last year, but Ramsey's been good. He got cooked only one game, really, and it was Cincy, and those guys cooked almost everyone. Now, Joey Porter Jr. has definitely been a little worse, but I think he should be fine. I don't see them taking a corner here. I know they want Rodgers to stick around, but does that mean they could take a guy like? I mean, they're suggested the top four of the top 5 players in there. I think Newsmeyer is a real possibility. I do. I know he's had a down year, and that kind of has to do with, who's running LSU. Brian Kelly had a terrible year. He got fired. He, messed with Newsmeyer's stock, but I still think he's going to be a first round pick at this given time. Aaron Rodgers is 41. We have to, draft for the future. And I think you can't pass up on taking him there, personally, but so in Detroit, I don't think they'd take an offensive tackle. I know they says that, but as a suggestion, doesn't make any sense. They don't need one. Taylor Decker's good. Sewell is one of the best right tackles there is. I mean, it wants an edge rusher, across from Hutchinson. Personally, I think they need a corner. Missing out on, losing Carlton Davis, they're relying on a lot of guys with not a lot of experience, and these guys are just not high enough quality corners, in my opinion. I think Delane's a good pick here. I think they could definitely take Terrell too, but that is how I'm currently feeling. Now, they're going to suggest Caleb Lamu. Are you serious? Like, that doesn't... Whatever, dude. It really doesn't make any sense, because Slater and Alt will be fine long term. You can't draft, whatever. I'm going to take Cassius L. Bosa left last year. Max old. Henley's good. He's an all pro caliber player, but you need to get an edge rusher that is young. And with Jesse Minter, they will be good. They will be good. I see him over any other player. Terrell, possible, but their cornerback group is pretty good too. Now, the Niners need a bunch of stuff. Now, corner, not the most. I'm going to go Lomu here. Because Trent Williams is 41. I think he's going to call it quits after this year. And the right tackle's been terrible for a while, basically. And now we've got Dallas, who took T.J. Parker. And now I'm going to pair him up with another Clemson man. I'm going to take Terrell. Now, Sonny Styles, I see as a very high possibility at that pick. I just think Terrell's the bigger need. They need corner more than anything else on that roster. That's the guy to go with. You can't replace, Diggs, Bland, and Alam as your corners this year. Not cutting it per se. Now, Buffalo. Now, I think the Keon Coleman experiment is past us. I think Denzel Boston is the pick. I think this dude is a very, very good receiver. They cannot pass up on getting this guy. This is, a chance at a 1. I think he's definitely better than, the other guys below him. Bell, Conception, Purcell. Washington, hey. They didn't have a good track record last time, maybe. But, I mean, Polk was terrible. But, look how good Rome is, man. Boston is a guy there. I don't know what I'm saying, man. I'm just yapping. They say cornerback. I view linebackers. The biggest need on this team, I think Sonny Styles is the pick. He is definitely the best linebacker on the board there. Now St. Louis. Now the Rams. Now, I don't really think they'd take Sadiq. I'm not trying to be biased towards Denver. I just don't view Sadiq as a big need there. Edge rusher, inside offensive line. I mean, they could go 2 offensive linemen. I think it's a little boring, but I also think, corner, receiver, even. I know Colton Hood's down here. He's probably just going to be the guy I go with. Although I think Anthony Hill is probably the most undervalued player here. I think he's probably a top... He's definitely a first-round pick, but it really depends on how he does for the end of the year to see where he keeps going. Colton Hood's going to be my pick. I mean, they clearly need a corner. That's their big weakness on defense. And now we move on to my team, the Denver Broncos. Got the Bo Nix jersey back here. Now, our big need is a pass catcher. You know, we have two big needs really, and a pass catching elite tight end would be awesome. But a guy like C.J. Allen would be awesome too. I genuinely think they could go him, C.J. Allen. Sorry, him. I mean Sadiq Allen, Anthony Hill, like I said. But I think Sean Payton needs that tight end more. I think Sadiq's the guy. Now, here, where Lavonte David is very old, I think Anthony Hill's the better player than C.J. Allen at this time. I think that's the pick. Now, the Pats, it says, oh, they should take edge rusher. I think they got to take receiver. I think they need to get a true guy, and I think Brazil is the best, in my opinion, at the time. I think Conception's good and Bell, but I definitely, Brazil's just got that extra, or like that step over them right now, in my opinion. Philly, they desperately need an edge rusher or a corner. There's not really a corner on the board where it's like, oh yeah, I'd take them too. Oogala Boogala, I would, I know his brother, not the greatest player, but I think that's a good pick regardless. And I think to end this draft, it just makes sense. I know it's a big need. Oh, well, this would be the Jets pick actually, but okay, well, hold on. Let's go over the Jets, because this is their pick here. New York. Oh, well, same player anyway. Yes. So, I think, there's a couple different guys that could take. They don't really need the edge rusher as much since Jermaine Johnson's still on the team. Linebacker's really the big need for me there. C.J. Allen would be the guy I'd say. See, this guy knows. Chillbone. But, I mean, this is what I've got. I mean, this is what I think right now, at least. This shit could change because I think, Tyson has a lot for him to grow. I know they're not going to make college football playoffs, but I think Tyson could really go as high as... I don't see 2, but, like, I think he could go 4. But, like, the Titans would be the main team that need him. But they just if they traded down, it would make a lot of sense. Yeah. So let me know what y'all think about this video. I will try and post this every Wednesday, and hopefully, when I look back on this, I'm sort of right. Later.